We are sitting in the Uptown Design District at the Trina Turk flagship store, celebrating Trina's 20th anniversary of this store, and I am so happy to be here with the founder and creator herself, Trina Turk.
Hi, Claudia.
So happy to have you, and this is going to be some party tonight.
Well, 20 years is a shockingly long time.
It's certainly incredible, and I probably have only been shopping your store for maybe, I don't know, maybe 16 or 17? It was a much smaller store, but I think the building is architecturally significant. Can you tell us about the building?
The building was designed by Albert Frey, one of our famous Palm Springs architects. Although at the time that I leased the original store, I didn't actually know that. I just knew that when I walked into this space, it felt really good because it had windows in the front and windows in the back. And there was just something about the vibe in the space that was really appealing, and I think that that's what good architecture is all about.
Wow, and when did you find out that Albert Frey actually designed the building?
Shortly thereafter. I mean, the landlord told me, and what is now the women's store was the original store, and we expanded twice over the years.
What were in the other spaces? I do remember you expanding.
So when I first came and coveted this space, it was a vintage furniture store called John's Resale Modern. And it was a great vintage modern furniture store. I loved coming in here because of what I was just talking about, just the space felt really good. Then next door, there was a little shop that sold, I feel like it was jewelry and stuff from Tibet, or the Middle East, or just sort of ethnic finds, let's say. And then on the corner was Macmillan's, and he primarily sold men's Hawaiian shirts and lots of prints.
Well, I know that you have a love for mid-century modern architecture, preservation, and have served on and continue to serve on several boards here in Palm Springs. Has the mid-century, just the whole, everything from that era inspired your collections through the years, and if so, how?
Definitely. When I first started the company, I had a little tear sheet. I think I tore it out of Vanity Fair. That was the very famous poolside gossip, Slim Aaron's picture, which I'm sure you've all seen. It's women by the pool at the Kaufman House. Nelda Linsk is one of the women in the picture.
Oh, Nelda.
And they're wearing yellow and white. And anyway, that photo was just sort of pinned to my bulletin board when I started the company, which was way back in 1995. And so, yes, I would say that kind of late 60s, early 70s feeling has always been something that is an inspiration for what we do at Trina Turk. And the Palm Springs store kind of was an extension of that.
Okay, so was that inspiration, did that inspire you to open the store in Palm Springs, or did you always have an inkling once you came to Palm Springs that this would be your first store?
Well, my late husband Jonathan and I bought a house out here in 1998. And at that time, Palm Springs was just starting its renaissance, and there were a lot of other like-minded creative types buying architectural homes out here, and I just thought, what are they going to wear?
Exactly, as a designer would think.
What are they going to wear?
What would they do? What are they doing without you?
So I had told Jonathan, I said, if that space where John's Resale Modern Furniture is ever became available, I think we should open a store there. And then it happened. We drove in on a Labor Day weekend, and there was a for lease sign in the window. And actually, we signed the lease on September 10th, 2001. And the next day was September 11th, 2001. And we were sort of like, well, it's the done deal, so we just went forward, and we didn't really realize, what kind of ramifications that was going to have, but that is something that happened with this store.
Now, what about staffing the store when you first opened? Did you come with staff in mind, or had hired, or were you here on the floor?
I was never here on the floor.
You have a business to run, manufacturing.
Yeah, we were primarily a wholesaler and still are to this day. So the Palm Springs store at that time was a bit of an experiment. And we just thought, if it doesn't take off, at least it'll be this beautiful environment where we can present the collection.
And your husband, Jonathan, your late husband, Jonathan, was a gifted photographer, beautiful talent, and I think he art directed and headed all your photo shoots, did all your photo shoots.
Right, and he also designed Mr. Turk when we first started. He actually studied apparel design. That's where I met him, was in college, and he was studying apparel design. But yeah, I mean, he was just generally creative, and he was a visual person. So he started off as a fashion stylist and then shifted into photography and did pretty much all the brand photography for us.
Let's talk a little bit about the store, more about the store. When you chose to break through, was it, I don't recall if you had mentioned this, you have sort of a center section and then a far section, the two other shops. Did you go one by one or both two? Okay.
We did. We first expanded into what is now the women's swimwear section.
Right.
And actually, Philip K. Smith, the artist, designed that store, which for a while was dedicated to residential. And we did a lot of pillows in our prints and had some vintage furnishings and resold vintage furnishings. Then when the corner became available, we did another expansion, and unfortunately the Philip Smith store was just changed over to the women's swim. And then where Mr. Turk and Residential is now, that was designed by Barbara Bester.
Okay.
Who's an architect who I've worked with on several projects based in Los Angeles.
To me, you have created such a lifestyle brand, but a lifestyle destination here in Palm Springs. Even when you go into swim, you've got everything you need for the pool, the floats, and outfitting top to toe, cabanas, sunglasses, hats, and then you go into residential and there's art, there's pool, games, there's things for the home, there's your beautiful pillow collection, lots of books, interesting art books.
Right.
So was that an original concept you had, saying that one day I want it to be an entire sort of lifestyle look here?
I mean, yes, and also there was just, as we were expanding, we wanted to dedicate some real space to Mr. Turk because it's a very important part of our business in Palm Springs.
That kind of wraps into the residential, which is great.
Right, and prior to that, we just had a few tea stands of Mr. Turk in the women's store, and the men were not happy about that, and so...
And there were a lot of men here, if you haven't noticed, in Palm Springs.
So we really wanted to, create a shop for Mr. Turk, as well as expand on what we had originally done in that interim store, which was more of a residential concept, or home furnishings, or gifting. If you're going to a party, you need to pick something up to give to your hostess, that type of thing.
Okay. Now, how many stores do you have across the country now?
Right now we have 5. We actually closed 7 stores during COVID, and most of that business shifted over to e-com. But I do see retail, brick and mortar retail, coming back, because I think as we all go on, we're kind of getting sick of shopping online.
Now, of your other stores, I mean, is this the only store, the flagship, that has women's, men's, and residential?
Yes, and partially it's because of the size of the store. I mean, this is our largest store, square footage wise, and some of our other stores do carry Mr. Turk, but none of the other stores have the residential product in such a big way.
It's just really great to have you here and to speak with you on
Thank
your
you.
20th anniversary of the store.
Than's for having me.
We'll have to get a little toast in.
We will.
All right. Thank you, Trina.